David, how are you doing on this Monday?
Hey, Travis, I'm good. How you doing, man?
We're doing good here in Tuscaloosa. We love that another fall camp is underway, a lot going on. We've talked about certainly the quarterback competition here at Alabama with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa expected to continue to compete perhaps even into the season, David. I wanted to ask you, and I'm not sure if you've listened to the comments or read the comments in depth from Jalen Hurts from Saturday, but just on their face, were you a little surprised by what you read or heard, if you got a chance to do that?
Yeah, I saw it. It was a little bit. It looks like he's been holding that in for months, right? And so I just think that maybe he felt like it was the time to, since it hadn't been talked about, to talk about it. And I was kind of the mind that I was like, good for him, in a way, good for him. Same time, I can see how a coach would not like it. I thought that, more than anything, it sounds like he was trying to get some answers. So it sounds like he was trying to stir it up a little bit internally, and if not anything, just speak his mind, which I respect. I do think there's may have been a better time for it, and it was peculiar that it was before camp or the competition has really started. So, it's one of those things that it was a little bit weird timing wise, just the very beginning of camp, but here we are.
David, can you speak though? The pressure, right, has got to be immense at this point. You're not only talking about trying to fend off a guy like Tua Tagovailoa, who may be a generational quarterback around this program when it's all said and done. We'll see. Still a lot of football to be played, a long way to go for Tua. But he wasn't made available to the media in the spring. You work the Manning Passing Academy, and you've spent time around Jalen the last 2 summers down there at MPA. He wasn't made available to the media at that event through no doing, my understanding at least, of the MPA people. That was more of an Alabama decision even down there. But in your dealings with Jalen, and it's kind of been his MO to be the calm, poised. And look, Saturday, in making the comments he made, he wasn't flying off. This wasn't T.O., okay, in front of the media. He was pretty calm, poised, matter of fact in a lot of ways. And as you said, seemed like he had something to say, and he said it for the pressure involved in this situation. Can that be almost a cathartic type experience for Jalen in terms of maybe relieving himself of some of this pressure?
I think so. I do. In a weird way, I feel like, the kid's one of the leaders on the team, right? He has the locker room. He spoke with authority. There weren't really any minced words. I thought to myself after I saw that, you know what, he may have helped himself there at Alabama because he may, this is a guy that doesn't normally do that. And so, he's human and emotion, and this is hard for him probably. I think he has Saban's respect. And when a guy like that, who is usually reserved and very above board and all that, speaks the way he does, everybody listens, and that's probably the reason that there's been so much response to it. But I could see it helping him, honestly, very honestly.
And when you say that, are you talking about maybe with his teammates? Because that's my stance on this is that, Saban has said time and time again, you need to win the team. You need to not attract attention to yourself. And I understand that in certain scenarios, but in speaking his mind the way he did, I'm of the belief there's more than a few guys in that locker room that he may have gained more respect from in doing what he did Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know that many guys would say it on that coaching staff, but there's some guys on that coaching staff that respect the heck out of what he did. So, they may not come out and say it, but I guarantee you, because it's nothing he said was off. Nothing he said was wrong. It was it's I guess if it hadn't been discussed around there, then it hadn't been discussed. So I don't think it was great timing. Do I think it was poor judgment? I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of too early to tell. I'm telling you, in my weird mind, I kind of feel like it's going to help him.
You know what, David? In watching the practice after his comments Saturday, I thought he had a really good practice. I kind of worried after his statements because if you go back to the spring and his father and the statements made to Bleacher Report that were published like 2 days before the spring game, and then he didn't really play all that well. And a scrimmage is what it is, but it's highly visible. We all know that the spring game at Alabama may as well be an SEC game at a lot of other places. It wasn't his best performance, but I'll tell you this, I thought he rebounded from that or responded to what he said and had a nice practice on Saturday. So maybe this does end up proving cathartic and helpful to him at least. I don't know about his chances and the perspective of his head coach. But, some of this goes back to, and Jalen touched on it, he didn't seem to be happy with what he perceived to be anyway as a lack of communication between the staff and himself throughout the offseason. That's the feeling that was pretty easy to come to in reading and hearing his comments from Saturday. How big is that? If you're a guy in this competition like Jalen Hurts, you've been in this arena before. I mean, how important is it for the coaching staff to really try to keep everyone involved? This isn't to say that the staff didn't attempt to do that, but how important is communication in general in a situation like this?
I think it's huge. Look, it's here's the deal. If they weren't talking about it before then, they're talking about it now. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a communication back and forth, probably between Saban, Tua, Jalen, OC, quarterback coach. There's going to be this now, and so maybe that's all he was looking for. Is like, hey, here's the deal. Here's where you stand. Here's how this competition is going to go down. Here's how I'm going to do it. It's going to go into game 3 or 4. You're each going to get a half. I mean, he may have had to, make Saban show his hand, and meaning, give me some direction here. How's this going to happen? And so that's what I'm saying. In a way, I feel like it helps him. And the other side of that is, I've been in competitions before where it was communicated early, and it hurt like hell, because I was on the opposite side of it. Like going into my junior year, Eli was going into his sophomore year, and we were supposed to compete that spring for the job. Well, right after the season, before we even got into the competition, Coach Cutcliffe named Eli the starter. So he knew, I knew, and it sucked for me, but it was like, all right, this is the way it's going to be, right? And did I think it was fair? No, but in a way, I appreciated that he didn't waste my time off the spring, and then there's this thing where you feel like you got a better shot at it than you may have thought before. And so, anyway, I have been on actually in the middle of something similar, but not not at all the same. But I just think the communication side for a quarterback, I really do believe it's subtle. I really do believe it's fragile because there's such a mind thing here. This position is such. You have to have a strong mind. You have to have confidence. And if the best player in the world, confidence gets shaken, he's not the same guy. And I think, very honestly, I think Jalen's confidence has been shaken. And for better or worse, whether it be his fault or somebody else's, you saw it last year. I don't know that he got better as a passer. And, I think it's because his confidence was shaken. He physically can do it. I think he mentally can do it. I just think that, there's something that, I don't know. I don't know if it's his confidence or people's confidence in him, but communication is one way to understand where you stand. And also it's another way to understand where people, how they feel about you. And I think that this position, it is fragile. I've seen it happen where somebody's confidence was boosted, and I've seen it happen where people never recovered. So I think the communication aspect at this position is different than any other position. I'm not saying you got to. I'm not saying you pamper these quarterbacks and all this. I'm just saying there has to be communication, and sometimes it is. Hey, I don't know, but by that third scrimmage in August camp, we're going to name a guy. After the third scrimmage, we're going to add up all the stats. Well, at least then okay, here's the deal. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard not knowing. And then again, I don't know that Saban didn't say, here's the deal. I mean, he said he's going to go through camp. So, I'm somewhat rambling. I'm just kind of giving you my thoughts on the whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about from the player perspective, but a situation like this has the staff in a bind too, right? You're trying to manage this quarterback roster for as long as you possibly can. If you come out in the spring and name a starter, or even at the start of fall camp, or even a scrimmage into fall camp, you risk really sustaining a pretty big hit to your quarterback room, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a fragile thing. They're trying to manage it. They're pretty darn good at managing things around there. And I think that I guess what Jalen communicated was, give me a little bit more than what you've given me communication-wise. And, he'll get that. He's going to get that now, right? So if that's what he wanted, he's going to get it.
As we let you go here, talking with David Morris, founder of QB Country, QBCountry.com, on a Monday morning edition of Southern Fried Sports, presented by Cartier & Lloyd Attorneys at Law and Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. Going forward, David Morris's advice to Jalen Hurts, what would it be?
We kind of talked about it for a minute or two at the Manning Passing Academy before a session. I went over to him and said, "Hey, man, how is your confidence? How is your head? Where are you?" And I probably he wasn't expecting that because I hadn't seen him in a while, And he said, "Man, I'm good. Like, I feel better than I've felt in a long time. It's been hard because I've played for 3 different offensive coordinators, and that's hard, And I was like, well, man, my advice at the time and my advice now is, man, you should believe with all your heart that you're the best quarterback at that school, in that room, and in the SEC. And, if you don't believe, nobody's going to believe for you. And people that accomplish amazing things all went through major stages of doubt. But if you don't believe, then it's not going to happen. And so my thought was, man, believe. Physically, I told him, hey, physically, you're as good as Dak Prescott. You have to believe and know that. And so that's kind of what I would say to him in a 2-minute pep talk.
There you go. David, as we let you go, got to mention A.J. McCarron getting first-team reps up there in Buffalo, a guy that you've worked with for a decade now or plus, down there in the Mobile area, the former Alabama quarterback, obviously. Not a lot of confidence issues, it doesn't seem, with A.J. right now. And, again, reports that he's working with the first-team offense. And you spent so much time with him this offseason getting him ready for this opportunity. Was that his mindset going up there, David, that he expected? I'm sure he did, but at least early in camp to sort of set the tone as the guy up there for the Bills.
Well, I think he expected a competition, and I think he's getting one. And but I'll put him up. I'll put him up against any of those guys, And I would suspect that he'll get that thing done over the next several weeks, and he's ready. He worked his tail off. He knows that offense. He's physically better than he's ever been, and he believes. And I think that he's trying to make other people around him believe. And so yeah, he was expecting a competition.